picking up right where we left off, we are now going to go ahead and select our inbox. So we'll do mail.select and inbox. That will actually select the particular inbox that we are working in. So if I copy this and go into my terminal and hit select, it says OK and B6. So OK, B6, that's the inbox that we're working with. It's basically just saying, hey, this exists. If I tried something else like inbox 2, it's going to give me something like this. So you might need to find what your inbox is by doing mail.list. And this will list out all the different things that are in there. Now, if you're working in Gmail, it's not as straightforward as it may seem. Like I see that there's this one called like all and all this stuff. This actually doesn't work that well, at least on Python 3. So if I do all, it gives me that same sort of thing. It could be the fact that I just don't have that many emails. It could be a lot of things, but if I go to select new as in a inbox or a actual folder that I created, then I can actually do that. So I could also make mail.create, and this creates a new folder. So I'll say item 2, and that creates my new folder. So let's go ahead and leave these things in here. So create new folder, and then list folders, mail.list. So now if we do that again, I should see that new folder in there, and it is. It says item 2 right there. Okay, great. So now that we've got that, let's go ahead and jump into actually parsing the data in here. And that is opening up the data and just kind of seeing what's going on. So we have now a new variable that we're going to introduce. So we've got resultant data and then mail.uid. So UID is getting the identification or the unique identification for the actual item. So if we do search and then none and then all, this is going to get all of these things. So if I go ahead and copy this, go into terminal and do data, I see that we have all. So the reason I only have one here is because I selected this new item. So let's go back to the inbox and I'll do mail.select and we'll go inbox and then try that again with all and then do data. I see that I get now multiple emails actually in there. So the difference here is that this one has, let's see, 6 emails. And if we actually jump into our inbox, we should see that we have 6 here too. So I've got 3 here and 3 there. So that's accurate. Whereas in the other email, when I went into that folder for new, it only has 1. All right, good. So that's actually showing out that we do have 6 emails in here, and these are the IDs for those emails. Now, this is a very similar result as what we're going on here. So we've got result and data. This gives us back these 2 different things. So if I actually just copied that and paste it in here, I'd see that those 2 separated out in a tuple. That's why we did that. So now we've got all this data. So we've got different actual items in here. So we can actually get one of these items however we'd like. So the first thing is, notice that it's a string here. It's a byte string, but it's a string. It's not actually in a list. So let's make it into a list. So we'll just say inbox item list equals to, and data, if you remember up here, data is equal to that. And then we'll just split it up. Data, and looks like we might have reset data. Let's see, data. Oops, yeah, we want to do data 0, the first data item. That's why. So if we look at data, it's actually an item where data 0 is the first item in there. Okay, so we've got our list here. So we do inbox item list, inbox item list, and there we go. We've got a list of byte items. So these are all the different ones. If we want to get the latest one, that is the most recent email sent, we could do this. They'll say most recent equals to this inbox item list and just the index of -1, because that's going to give us the last one there, and that's most recent. And then we'll just say oldest being the same thing, but now in 0, because we want to see these 2 different emails. The first one I want to do is the oldest email that I actually have. So we want to actually get this email itself. So to do this, let's go ahead and copy these. I want to make sure that we have these in our notes. as well as inside of the shell. And here we go. There we go. Okay, so let's write it in here just so it's just a little bit better. And now we'll do result2 and email data equaling to mail.uid. And now it's going to be fetch and then the ID that we're working with. So whatever ID that we have in here. So we're going to do the oldest one first. So we say oldest. And then we're going to add in just one little aspect to it, RFC822. That's just some encoding that you don't really have to worry about. Just make sure you have it in there. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and copy this, bring it into our terminal, and we'll say email data. Press enter. This is a lot of stuff in here. So let's see what's going on. That is the oldest email. And we can actually, first of all, I want to change how this email data is because it's actually in bytes. So notice those little B's, that stands for bytes. And we want to change that from being bytes to being just a raw email string. So we'll do raw email equals to email data. Well, email data is going to have a couple things in here. So we're going to get the first item of it. So let's actually look at that first item. And that gives us something else. And there is another tuple in here. So I'm just going to go ahead and say the second item there. So this will give us the actual stuff that's in the email. And it looks like a lot of things are going on in here. So we will come back to that in a second. And then we are going to go ahead and decode this. So we'll do decode and UTF-8. Now, if you're working on Python 2, you don't have to do this part because it'll probably be a string already. But we're not working on Python 2, we're working on Python 3. So now we need to turn this email message into an actual email object in Python by doing email. So notice we imported email up here. And we'll do message from string. And this takes in raw email. So that's that email string itself. So I can go ahead and copy these. Let's copy all this stuff just in case. And we'll bring it into terminal. And we've got our email message here. And now it's a message object. So let's go ahead and jump back into and actually see the documentation. So in this email itself, this is an email object it's working with. So that means we can do all sorts of things here. So if I search message from string, I'll see it's the reference for message from string. You can also do message from bytes. So remember how we changed it into a string here, at least on Python 3. In Python 2, you could just ignore that part and this would still work. Okay, so now that we've got that, we've got our email message, so we can do some stuff with it. And that is, we can come into our terminal and we can print out the directory, so dir of email message, so we can see all the different things that are in here. You can get content subtype, content type, you can get the payload, you can do all these different things. So we can also do email underscore message, and we can see to. And that's to this email. And we can try from. There's the from. And we can try subject. There we go. So we've got a to, from, and subject. So let's leave these notes in here. So I'm going to copy this and bring it in here. And that's because we turned it into a actual email string, right? Like we took that string and turned it into an email object so we can actually use it this way. Otherwise, it won't work as well. That's why we did that. We took the string that came through and then we turned it into a Python email object so we can actually work with it. Okay, so now that we've got this, we want to look at the content type. So we want to get what the main type of this content is so we can know how to parse it. Now, before I go any further here, what we see is how we'll know that we want to know whether or not it's an email or it's just plain text. We'll know this by doing the content type for one, but also if we want to get the payload, that is the actual message. So if we did email underscore message dot get payload, we would see that it has a list and it actually lists out two separate things in here. So if I come in here and do email message get payload, so that's a list. So if this is a list, then we know it's not plain text. If it wasn't a list, then it would probably just send back the plain text message, which we're going to stop here. And then in the next one, we'll just come back and reassess this. So then our email message is not a list, but rather a plain text message. So we'll see you in the next one.